Greetings, dear viewers. Have you ever thought about getting a job? No, I mean the night shift. If so, I recommend listening to the stories I've gathered and maybe think for a moment, is it really worth it?
You ever get that feeling right at the start of your shift that the whole night is just wrong? Not like a bad feeling, more like the world got a fresh coat of paint and nobody told you the new rules. That's how it started for me last Tuesday at the Rayford Logistics Hub. My name's Dan. I'm an overnight security guard. Not a cop, not a hero. I'm the guy who makes sure the bay doors are locked and calls the real cops if something looks broken. The hub huge. It's one of those giant windowless boxes off the interstate in Allentown, Pennsylvania. At night, it's just me and the hum of the freezer units in Section C, 2 miles of aisles, pallets stacked to the ceiling, and one set of flickering fluorescents that I turn on as I go. My routine is simple. I clock in at 11 p.m., I do a perimeter check of the outside, then I start my first interior walk. I go from the front offices, through the main warehouse, into the old annex, and then loop back. I do 3 walks a night. The rest of the time, I'm in the security office watching monitors that show 16 slices of grayscale nothing. That Tuesday, my first walk felt off from the get-go. It was the sound. The warehouse has a sound, a kind of low electric groan from the freezers and the vents. But as I walked into the main aisle, aisle 100, I heard something else, a shuffle, like someone dragging a boot a little. I stopped. Hello? Nothing, just the groan. This is security. If there's someone here, you need to identify yourself. The facility is closed. Silence. I stood there for a full minute listening. My flashlight beam just cut through the dark up ahead, showing dust and concrete. I shook my head. It was an old building. It made noises. I kept walking. I got to the intersection of aisle 100 and the cross aisle 50. That's when I saw it. One of the motion-activated lights was on, way down at the far end of cross aisle 50, about 100 yards away. It was a pool of white light in the darkness, and under it, a pallet of cardboard boxes was on the floor, not tipped over. It was like it had been gently set down, right in the middle of the walking path. That was wrong. The forklift drivers are fanatics about putting pallets in their marked slots. Leaving one in the middle of an aisle was a firing offense. I keyed my radio. "Base, this is Dan. I've got a pallet down in cross 50, near the freezer doors. I'm going to check it out." Static. Then, "Copy, Dan." It was Linda, the dispatcher for the company that contracted us. She sounded bored. I walked toward the light. My footsteps were too loud. The light was so bright it made everything else black. I got to the pallet. The boxes were sealed, labeled with some auto parts numbers. I looked around. No forklift, no hand truck, nothing. Then, the light went out. I jumped. The motion sensor must have timed out. I waved my arms. It stayed dark. I stomped. Nothing. The sensor must have been faulty. I turned on my flashlight and shined it down the aisle past the pallet. The beam didn't reach far. That's when I heard the shuffle again, from the darkness beyond my flashlight. A slow, deliberate scrape of a sole on concrete. "Hey!" I shouted. My voice didn't echo right. It just got swallowed. "Security! Step into the light now!" The shuffling stopped. Then, from the same spot in the dark, a voice. It was flat, toneless, like someone reading words they didn't understand. "Security! Step into the light now!" It was my words, my exact words, but wrong, like a recording played back on a cheap speaker. My blood went cold. "Who is that?" A pause, then, "Who is that?" It was mimicking me, not mocking me, just repeating. I took a step back. My radio crackled on my belt, making me yelp. "Dan, status. Linda's voice. The thing in the dark spoke again at the same time as her, the same flat tone. Dan, status. It was mimicking the radio now.
I fumbled for my radio, my eyes glued to the darkness. I brought it to my mouth, whispering, "Linda, there's someone in the warehouse. They're repeating things." "Say again, Dan? You're breaking up." From the darkness, a whisper that wasn't a whisper, but a perfect copy of my own. "Say again, Dan? You're breaking up." It had heard me. It had repeated my whisper from 100 feet away. I ran. I didn't care. I sprinted back down the aisle, my flashlight beam bouncing wildly. I didn't stop until I slammed through the door into the well-lit front office hallway. I locked the door behind me and leaned against it, panting. The security office felt like a trap. The monitors showed 16 slices of stillness. I stared at the screen for the camera in cross aisle 50. It showed the pallet on the floor. The light above it was off. Nothing moved. I called Linda back, my voice shaky. I told her what happened. Not the mimicking part. That sounded crazy. I just said an intruder was in the warehouse, being aggressive. "I'm sending a patrol car," she said, less bored now. "ETA 20 minutes. Lock yourself in. Do not re-engage." I watched the monitors. For 10 minutes, nothing. Then, on the screen for aisle 100, near the annex door, a motion-activated light clicked on. Nobody was there, just the lit-up floor. Then, on the screen for the main corridor, another light popped on. Then another in the receiving bay. They were turning on in a sequence, one after the other, a wave of light moving through the warehouse, toward the front, toward me. It was following my exact patrol route from my first walk, my own route. The last light in the sequence was the one right outside the security office door, in the hallway. On the monitor, I saw it blink on. I heard a shuffle outside the door, a slow, dragging step on the linoleum. Then a knock. 3 slow, solid knocks. I didn't breathe. The voice came through the door. It was no longer flat. It had texture now. It was my voice. It sounded exactly like me, tired and a little scared. "Linda, it's Dan. I'm back at the office. I think I scared him off. You can call off the cops." My own words from 5 minutes ago when I'd first gotten back to the office and radioed her. It had heard them. It had remembered them. And now it was using them. It was trying to get me to open the door. I looked at the monitor. The figure stood right in front of the door, its back to the camera. It wore a dark jacket like mine. Its hair was like mine. It stood like me. It was learning. "Hello?" it said, using my voice again, a questioning lilt I didn't remember using. "Anyone in there? The door's stuck." I reached for the phone to call 911 myself. As my hand touched the receiver, the power went out. The monitors died. The overhead lights cut off. The only light was the pale red glow of the battery-powered exit sign over the door. Total silence, except for the frantic beating of my own heart in my ears. Then, from the other side of the door, a new sound, a soft metallic scraping. It was the sound of the keypad by the door, a beep as someone pressed a button, another beep. It was trying the code. The code, the one I used, the one I'd typed in when I came back, my fingers in clear view of the hallway camera. It had watched me. It had learned the code. Beep, 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 beep. The electronic lock gave a click, a solid, unmistakable thunk of the bolt retracting. The door handle began to turn. I did the only thing I could think of. I didn't scream. I didn't shout. In that total, silent dark, I spoke in a normal, calm, conversational tone. The kind of voice you use when you're not expecting an answer. "The lights are out in here," I said, staring at the slowly opening door. "Must be a breaker. I should go check the breaker box in the annex." The door stopped moving. The handle went still. I kept talking, like I was to myself. "Yeah,
The main panel is in the annex, by the freezer units. It's always tripping. I'll have to walk all the way back there in the dark. I heard a shuffle, a step back. It was listening. It was learning. And my route was the only thing it knew. I was giving it a new routine, a new task. I stood up slowly, my chair squeaking. Better take my flashlight. It's dark out there. I heard footsteps then, dragging, shuffling footsteps, moving away from the door, back down the hall. I crept to the door and looked through the tiny wire-reinforced window. I saw my own back, in a jacket like mine, walking down the hall. It turned the corner toward the main warehouse, toward the annex. It was going to check the breaker box, because that's what I said I would do. I didn't wait. I burst out of the office and ran the other way, to the front fire exit. I hit the bar, and the alarm screamed into the night. I didn't stop running until I was across the parking lot, behind my car. The police found me there 20 minutes later. They went in with guns drawn. They found the pallet. They found lights on and a path leading deep into the annex. They found the door to the main breaker panel standing open. The switches were all fine. They didn't find anyone else. No signs of forced entry. No one hiding. They asked me a lot of questions. They suggested I'd been spooked, maybe fallen asleep, had a dream. The company made me take a drug test. I passed, but they let me go anyway. Not a good fit for the overnight shift, they said. I know what I heard. I know what I saw on those cameras. I know what learned my code and tried my door. Here's the thing that keeps me up now, the thing I didn't tell the cops. When I ran from the office, I looked at the keypad. It has a log. It shows the last 5 codes entered. The log showed my code entered at 11:05 p.m. when I started my shift. And it showed my code entered again at 1:17 a.m. when the power went out. But between those two entries, at 12:30 a.m., was another successful code entry. A 6-digit code I didn't recognize, one I'd never used. Someone or something had come in from the outside, and then it spent the rest of the night inside with me, learning. I drive by the Rayford hub sometimes during the day. It looks normal, trucks coming and going, but I think about the annex and the deep freezer units that run 24/7. I think about what could be in there, standing perfectly still in the cold and dark, waiting for the lights to go out and the last human to leave, waiting to start its shift.
They say working the night shift at a truck stop is a lesson in human desperation. They're right, but I figured I'd seen it all. The road-weary drivers, the kids running from something, the lonely souls just looking for a warm place and bad coffee. I was wrong. The real lesson wasn't about the people who stopped, it was about the ones who never left. My name's Mark. I worked the overnight clerk shift at the Crossroads 24/7, a truck stop off I-80 in the middle of Nevada. Nothing but sagebrush, asphalt, and sky. My job was simple. Run the register, restock the coolers, mop the floors at 4 a.m., and try not to fall asleep. The regulars were my clock. Big Al, the long hauler, came in at 1 a.m. sharp for 2 hot dogs and a gallon of coffee. The Sandman, an old guy in a station wagon who'd sleep in our lot and buy a newspaper at 5 a.m., and the Thursday night crew from the local utility company, finishing their shift. They'd come in around midnight, 3 guys in matching gray coveralls, get some snacks, and shoot the breeze for 10 minutes. They were normal, bored, tired guys like me. Their names were Jeff, Carl, and the quiet one, Roy. Roy never said much, just nodded, paid for his beef jerky and energy drink, and stood by the door while the other 2 joked around. It started small. A Thursday night, about 3 months ago. Jeff was at the counter buying cigarettes. Carl was browsing the magazines. Roy was by the door, like always. I was wiping down the coffee station. I saw Roy's reflection in the window. He wasn't looking outside, he was staring at the floor near the back of the store, by the door to the storage room. His head was tilted, like he was listening to something. "You hear that?" he said. His voice was low, but it cut through the quiet. Jeff and Carl stopped talking. I stopped wiping. "Hear what?" I asked. Roy just shook his head. "Nothing. Thought I heard a thump from the back." I shrugged. "It's probably the cooler compressor kicking on. It's loud." Roy didn't look convinced, but he nodded. The guys left. I didn't think much of it. The next Thursday, it happened again. This time, I was in the storage room getting a mop bucket. I heard the bell on the front door jingle, meaning customers. When I came out, the 3 utility guys were there. Roy was standing stiff, again looking toward the back. "There it is again," he said, not to anyone in particular. "Dude, you're hearing things," Jeff laughed, slapping a bag of chips on the counter. "What does it sound like?" I asked, a little uneasy. Roy looked at me. His eyes were a pale, washed-out blue. Like something heavy, rolling, then a stop. He pointed a thumb toward the storage room. "From back there." I laughed it off. "That's just the pipes, man. This place is held together by duct tape and prayers." But after they left, I checked the storage room. It's just a concrete box with shelves of overstock, the breaker panel, and the hatch to the basement. The basement is a crawl space for plumbing. The hatch is always locked with a heavy padlock. I shined my flashlight around. Nothing was out of place. No rolling thing. The third Thursday, Roy didn't come in with Jeff and Carl. "Where's the quiet guy?" I asked as I rang them up. Jeff exchanged a look with Carl. "Roy, he switched shifts. Day crew now." "Oh," I said. "Well, tell him I said hey." Carl's smile was tight. "Yeah, sure." That night, after they left, I went to mop. I pushed the rolling bucket from the storage room. The squeaks streaked on the linoleum. Squeak, roll, stop. My blood went cold. That was the sound. The rolling, then a stop. I was making Roy's sound. But why would he lie? Why would he make up a sound he could hear any night I mopped? It didn't make sense. Unless he wasn't talking about the mop bucket. I didn't sleep well that day. I came in the next night with a weird feeling. The utility crew wasn't due for a week. The place was dead. Around 2 a.m., I decided to check the basement hatch, just to be sure. The padlock was cold in my hand. I had the key on my manager's ring. I never used it. Nobody did. I unlocked it, the click echoing in the quiet storage room. I heaved open the heavy wooden hatch. A smell came up. Not decay, just damp earth and concrete, and something else. A sharp chemical smell, like ammonia. I shined my flashlight down the hole. A set of wooden stairs led down into darkness. I went down. The crawl space was about 4 feet high, so I had to hunch. Pipes ran along the dirt floor and the concrete block walls. My beams swept over spider webs, old boxes of records, a broken chair. Then it landed on something new. Something that shouldn't be there. A large industrial plastic drum, the kind you see for chemicals or food service. It was blue and it was sealed tight. It was clean, unlike everything else down here. Next to it was a hand truck, a dolly, the kind with 2 wheels for moving heavy loads. My heart started pounding, like something heavy, rolling, then a stop. They weren't hearing a sound, they were making a sound. They were moving this drum. I backed up the stairs fast, my head smacking a pipe. I didn't care. I closed the hatch, fumbling with the padlock. I locked it, but as I turned the key, a horrible thought hit me. If they had a key to the padlock, locking it didn't matter. They could still get in. For the next week, I was a wreck. Every customer made me jump. I started watching the utility company trucks. I saw them around town during the day, working on power lines. They looked normal, just guys doing a job. The following Thursday night came. Midnight approached. I was sweating. I considered calling in sick, but I needed the money, and part of me needed to know. Jeff and Carl walked in at 12:10, alone. They got their usual. They seemed normal, joked about a football game, but I saw the way Carl's eyes flicked toward the storage room door. I saw Jeff's fingers tap a nervous rhythm on the counter. As Carl handed me cash, I forced myself to speak. My voice came out too high. "Hey, so Roy doing okay on days?" The air in the room changed, just like that. Jeff's smile vanished. Carl's hand froze. "Roy's fine," Jeff said, his voice flat. "It's just," I babbled. "He was so interested in the noises back here. I checked it out, found some weird stuff in the basement." Both men were staring at me now, not with anger, with a cold, assessing look, like mechanics looking at a broken engine. "What kind of stuff?" Carl asked softly. "A drum, a blue drum, and a dolly." Jeff let out a long, slow breath. He looked at Carl. Carl gave a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. "Mark," Jeff said, leaning on the counter. His voice was friendly, but his eyes weren't. "You seem like a good guy. You work hard. Night shift's tough." "Yeah," I mumbled. "Sometimes, to make the night shift work, you gotta have a side gig, to make ends meet. Me, Carl, Roy, we got a little side gig." I didn't say anything. My mouth was dry. "It's not glamorous. It's dirty work, but it pays well, and it requires discretion." He locked eyes with me. "You understand discretion, right, Mark?" I nodded. I couldn't speak. "Good man," Carl said, slapping the counter lightly. The sound made me flinch. "The thing about our side gig is it needs a quiet, out-of-the-way place for storage sometimes. Just temporary. A place no one ever looks." "The basement," I whispered. "The basement," Jeff confirmed. "We have the key. We come in on our breaks. It's quiet. No fuss. We move the product. We leave. You never see a thing." "Product?" The word fell out of my mouth. Jeff's smile was thin. "Don't ask questions you don't want the answers to, Mark. All you need to know is this. You keep doing your job, you see nothing, you hear nothing, and in return, we take good care of you. Cash in an envelope every 2 weeks, more than you make here." He reached into his pocket. I flinched back. He pulled out a thick, white envelope and slid it across the counter toward me. It was bulging. "Consider this a signing bonus for being a good neighbor." I looked at the envelope. I looked at their faces. These weren't monsters. They were guys I'd made small talk with for months. Guys with names and jokes and coffee orders. And they were offering me money to look the other way while they used my workplace, the place I was responsible for God knows what. Drugs? Stolen goods? Something worse? The drum. The clean, sealed drum. "What's in the drum?" I heard myself ask. Jeff's friendly pretense dropped completely. His face went blank. "I said don't ask, Mark." Carl stepped closer to the counter. "It's simple, Mark. You're in or you're a problem, and we fix problems." He said it calmly, like he was stating a fact. "Roy had a problem with nerves. He's on day shift now. He's fine, but he's not part of the team anymore. You don't want to have a problem, do you?" I took the envelope. My hands were shaking. I put it under the counter. "Smart," Jeff said, his smile returning. It was the scariest thing I'd ever seen. "We'll be by next Thursday, same time. You'll have had a quiet night, right?" "Right," I managed to choke out. They left. The bell jingled. I stood there, staring at the spot where they'd been. The envelope felt like it was burning a hole in the floor. I didn't touch the money. I left it there. For the next week, I was a ghost. I did my job mechanically. I watched the door. I listened for noises I now understood. Thursday came. I was a wreck. I thought about calling the cops, but with what? Some utility workers have a key to my basement? They gave me an envelope? They'd deny it. I had no proof of anything illegal, and they'd know it was me. They'd know I was the problem that needed fixing. They came in at midnight. Jeff and Carl. No Roy. Quiet night, Jeff asked, his eyes hard. Quiet, I said. Good. Carl walked past me toward the storage room. He pulled a key from his pocket, a key that looked just like mine, and unlocked the door. He disappeared inside. I heard the basement hatch creak open. Jeff stood at the counter, watching me, a sentry. He didn't speak. We heard noises from below, the roll of the dolly wheels, a heavy thump as something was set down, then the rolling again, coming closer. Carl emerged from the storage room, sweating. He was pulling the dolly. On it was the blue drum. It looked full. He wheeled it right past me, through the store and out the front door. Jeff gave me a final nod and followed him out. I watched from the window. They loaded the drum into the back of their utility truck, not even trying to hide it. Why would they? I was the only witness, and I was paid off. They drove away into the desert night. I ran to the storage room. The basement hatch was closed, but unlocked. I went down. My flashlight beam found the empty spot where the drum had been, and next to it, a new drum, a red one, also sealed, also clean. It was waiting for next Thursday. I quit the next morning. I told the manager it was for family reasons. I left the envelope under the counter. I never cashed a single dollar of their blood money. I moved to a different town, got a day job. I try not to think about it. But sometimes, late at night, I see a utility truck, or I hear a dolly wheel squeak in a supermarket aisle, and I think about the Thursday night crew. I think about Jeff and Carl, out there right now, in some other quiet place, on some other lonely night shift, rolling their heavy drums, doing their dirty work. And I think about Roy, the quiet one, the one with the problem, the one who switched to day shift. I found his name in the local paper online last week. A small obituary, unexpected passing, no details. He was 42. I didn't go to the funeral, but I know what killed him. It wasn't nerves. It was knowing what was in the drums. And now, so do I. I took the motel clerk job because it was supposed to be easy. Sit, watch TV, hand out keys. That's what old Bill told me on my first night. Nothing ever happens at the Starlight, he said. It's the quietest place on earth. He was almost right. The problem wasn't what happened, it was what kept happening, over and over, and none of it made any sense. The Starlight Motel is a single-story L-shaped dump off a state road in southern Ohio. 20 rooms, a soda machine, and a pool that's been green since the 90s. My shift is 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. I see maybe 2-3 customers a night. The rest of the time, it's just me, the buzz of the neon sign, and the security monitor showing 20 empty parking spots. It started on my third night. A check-in. A man in a dark sedan. Room 7. He paid cash, took the key, and left. Standard. An hour later, my phone at the desk rang. Internal line. Room 7. Front desk? I answered. A man's voice. Calm. Yes. Hello. Could I get some extra towels, please? Sure, I'll bring them right over. I grabbed 2 towels from the shelf and walked down the exterior walkway to room 7. The sedan was parked outside. The curtains were closed. I knocked. Towels? The door opened just a crack, the security chain still on. A hand reached out, a man's hand. I passed the towels through. The hand took them. Thanks, the voice said from inside. No problem. I walked back. 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. Room 7. Front desk? The same calm voice, same polite tone. Hi, could I possibly get an extra towels, please? I paused. I just brought you some. A few minutes ago. A short silence. Oh, must have forgotten. Sorry to bother you. He hung up. Weird, but okay. People are forgetful. I shrugged it off. The next night, a different guest, a woman in a minivan, room 13. She checked in around 9 p.m. At 10:15, the internal phone rang, room 13. Front desk? A woman's voice, polite. Hi, could I possibly get an extra blanket? The room is a bit chilly. Absolutely, be right there. I took a blanket from the linen closet and walked to room 13. Minivan there. I knocked. Blanket for you? The door opened just a crack, the security chain still on. A hand reached out, a woman's hand. I passed the blanket through. The hand took it. Thank you so much, the voice said from inside. You bet. I went back. At 11:30 p.m., the phone rang again. Room 13. Front desk? The same woman's voice, same polite tone. Hi, could I possibly get an extra blanket? The room is a bit chilly. A cold trickle went down my spine. Ma'am, I brought you a blanket about an hour ago. A pause. You did? I don't have it. Are you sure? Positive. I handed it to you. That's very strange, she said, sounding confused but not alarmed. I'm sorry. Never mind then. Click. I sat there for a long time staring at the security monitor. Room 13's light was on. The minivan sat there. Everything looked normal, but it wasn't. The pattern held. It didn't happen every night, maybe once a week. A guest would check in, they'd call with a simple, reasonable request, towels, blanket, more coffee, a wake-up call. I'd fulfill it. Then, exactly 1 hour and 15 minutes later, they'd call again. The same person, the same voice, the same request, as if the first call had never happened. And they would never remember the first time. They'd be confused, apologetic, but never scared, never like something was wrong. I started writing it down in the logbook, not the weird part, just the facts. 10:15, blanket to room 13. 11:30, call from room 13, same request, guest has no memory of first blanket. The entries piled up, same time gap, every time, 1 hour and 15 minutes. I told Bill, the day guy, you're laughing, kid, night shift brain. They're just messing with you, or you're dreaming. But I wasn't dreaming. The proof was in the logbook, and in the missing towels. I'd check the rooms after they checked out. The extra towels I'd delivered would be there, used or folded neatly. So I had delivered them. The guests had received them. They just forgot. Then came the night with the man in room 4. He was a trucker, big guy, checked in late. He called at 1:05 a.m. Yeah, this is room 4. You got any of those little shampoo bottles? Mine's empty. I'll bring some right over.
I took a handful of shampoo and conditioner bottles and walked to room 4. His rig was rumbling outside. I knocked. The door opened a crack. A big, tattooed arm reached out. I placed the bottles in his hand. Appreciate it, he grunted. No problem. Back at the desk, I marked the time. 1:10 a.m. I waited, my eyes on the clock. 1 hour and 15 minutes later, at 2:25 a.m., the phone rang. Internal, room 4. I picked it up, my hand slick with sweat. Front desk? The trucker's gruff voice. Yeah, this is room 4. You got any of those little shampoo bottles? Mine's empty. I couldn't speak for a second. Sir, I brought you shampoo at 1:10. Do you not have it? What? No, you didn't. I just checked the bathroom. It's empty. You sure you came to room 4? Positive. My voice was tight. I put them in your hand. He was silent. Then, quieter. Look, pal, I've been driving 18 hours. I'm not crazy. And I'm telling you, no one came to my door, and I have no shampoo. Now, are you going to bring me some or not? What could I do? I took more bottles and walked back to room 4. The rig was still running. I knocked, my heart hammering. The door swung open wide this time. No chain. The trucker stood there, filling the doorway. He looked angry and exhausted. He looked at my empty hands. "Well?" I held out the bottles. "Here." He took them, his brow furrowed. He looked past me, down the walkway, then back at me. "You're the same guy from the desk." "Yes." "And you swear you came here an hour ago." 1 hour and 15 minutes ago, yes." He stared at me. The anger drained from his face, replaced by something else. A deep, unsettled confusion. He looked at the bottles in his hand, then back at me. "I believe you," he said, his voice low. "But I swear to God, I never saw you. I never heard a knock. I've been sitting right here on the bed watching TV since I called." He took a step back, his eyes wide. What the hell is wrong with this place? He checked out right then, at 2:30 in the morning. He just got in his rig and left. I gave him a full refund without him even asking. That was the first time a guest realized something was off. It was also the last. After that, the calls kept happening. But the guests never caught on. They just got confused and apologetic on the second call. I was losing my mind. It was a small, stupid thing. No violence, no threat, just a glitch, a hiccup in time, repeating in the same lonely motel. I decided to test it. The next time it happened, I wouldn't fulfill the second request. A businessman checked into room 9. He called for an ironing board at 8:45 p.m. I brought it at 8:50. At 10:05 p.m., the phone rang. Room 9. "Front desk, this is room 9. Could I get an ironing board, please?" I took a deep breath. "Sir, I delivered an ironing board to you at 8:50 tonight." "I'm sorry?" He sounded genuinely perplexed. "No, you must be mistaken. I just got in and noticed there isn't one. Could you please bring it?" "I am not mistaken," I said firmly. "You have it." "I assure you I do not." A hint of irritation. "Are you refusing to bring standard amenities?" This was it. The standoff. "I'm telling you, you already have it. Check your closet." "I have checked. It is not here. Now, are you going to do your job, or should I call the manager in the morning?" I sat there, clenching the phone. I could stick to my guns, cause a scene, maybe break the pattern. Or, "I'll bring it right over," I said, my voice hollow. I took another ironing board from the storage. It was heavy and awkward. I walked to room 9. His rental car was there. I knocked. The door opened a crack, chain on. A hand in a business shirt cuff reached out. It groped for the board. I couldn't fit it through the crack. "The chain," I said. The hand retreated. I heard the chain slide off. The door opened just wide enough for the board to pass through. I shoved it in. The hand grabbed it. "Thank you," the voice said. The door closed. I heard the chain slide back on. I walked back to the office, defeated. But then I stopped. A thought, cold and clear. The chain. Every single time. On the first delivery, the door opened a crack with the chain on. I passed the item through. On the second call, every time, they claimed they never got the item. They claimed they never saw me. But when I delivered the item the second time, the door was always open with the chain off, just wide enough for the item. Every single time. They took the chain off for the second delivery, which meant they knew they were opening the door. For the first delivery, they claimed they never did. So who took the first item? I ran back to the office and pulled the logbook. I reviewed every instance. My notes were clear. First delivery, door cracked, chain on. Second delivery, door cracked, chain off.
It was a rule. A stupid, impossible, consistent rule.
The breaking point came last week. A young couple checked into room 19, the last room on the L. They seemed nice, in love. They called at 11:20 p.m. "Hi, we're in 19. Is there any more ice? Our bucket's empty." "I'll fill it and bring it right down." I took their ice bucket from behind the desk. It had their room number on it. Filled it and walked to room 19. Their car was there. Music was playing softly inside. I knocked. The door opened the familiar crack. The security chain was on. A young woman's hand reached out. I passed her the full ice bucket. She took it. "Thanks," she said brightly. "Enjoy," I said. I went back. I watched the clock. I knew what was coming. At 12:35 a.m., 1 hour and 15 minutes later, the phone rang. Room 19. I answered. "Front desk." It was the young man's voice this time. He sounded annoyed. "Yeah, we called for ice like an hour ago. Is it coming or what?" I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just said, "I'll be right there." I filled the ice bucket again, the same one with 19 on it. I walked down the long walkway. Their car was still there. The music was still playing. The same song. I stood in front of room 19. I didn't knock. I looked at the door. I looked at the ice bucket in my hand. And I made a decision. I wouldn't knock. I would just listen. I pressed my ear against the cold wood of the door. I could hear the music clearly now, a pop song. I could hear the TV on low, and I could hear them. The girl was laughing. The guy said something and she laughed again. A normal, happy couple in a motel room. Then the girl's voice, clear as day. "I'm gonna grab a soda, you want one?" "Yeah, get me a Coke," the guy said. I heard the fridge open. I heard the clink of bottles. And I heard the distinct, dry rattle of ice cubes being scooped from a plastic bucket. They had ice. They were using it right now. But they had just called me, claiming they never got it. My blood turned to ice water. I looked down at the full bucket in my hand. I slowly bent down. I slid the ice bucket across the concrete walkway until it was sitting directly in front of their door. Then I turned and walked quickly, quietly, back to the office. I didn't run. I just walked. I sat down behind the desk. I watched the security monitor focused on the walkway outside room 19. For 10 minutes, nothing. Then the door to room 19 opened. The security chain was off. The young man peered out. He looked down. He saw the ice bucket sitting there, full, on his doorstep. His face in the grainy black and white monitor showed pure confusion. He looked left. He looked right. He looked straight up at the camera, though he couldn't see it from that angle. He bent down, picked up the ice bucket, and took it inside. He closed the door. A minute later, I heard the chain slide back on. I quit the next morning, gave no notice. Bill called me a flake. I didn't care. I drive a delivery van now. Days only. I sleep fine. But sometimes I have to take a back road, and I'll see a lonely motel sign flickering in the dusk. And I'll think about the rules. I think I understand them now. Not why they exist, just what they are. There's the first guest, the one who calls, who gets the item, who uses it, who forgets. And there's the second guest, the one who calls exactly 1 hour and 15 minutes later, the one who lives in the same room, drives the same car, has the same voice, the one who has no memory, the one who needs the chain off to receive what the first guest already has. Two sets of the same people, living the same night, 1 hour and 15 minutes apart, passing each other in a loop they can never see. The Starlight Motel isn't quiet. It's full. Every room is always full. You just can't see all the guests at once. And I was the only one who had to talk to both of them. If you liked the story, subscribe and like it, And also write a comment about what topic you would like to hear about.